Hello, Ken. How are you this fantastic afternoon?
It is a beautiful summer day here in Phoenix, Dan. We're going to be a balmy 111 today.
That's amazing. Whenever you get into I don't know what, that's triple digits, but it's like
Yeah.
triple digits with double digits. That's even cooler.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
It's called the
amazing.
triple double for those of
It's
you
a
who follow basketball or other sports like that. It's a triple double in temperatures for Phoenix.
If you follow weather, that is exactly what it is. The great thing is we're up at 4:45 every morning taking the dog out for a 5 a.m. walk because it's cool then. And I use that term with air quotes for those of you who are listening and not watching, which reminds me, please subscribe and tell your friends.
Love it. Ken, what I need you to do today is to cut the cord. What is that all about?
Well, we just did it yesterday, Dan. We got rid of cable TV. And I know this is something that many people have done already and many more are contemplating doing, but it was a big deal for us. It took us 4 months to actually make the decision since we began the conversation and actually do it. And it reminded me of when we got rid of our landlines, I don't know, 5 years ago or so. And I think the thing that comes up for me is like, uh, that was what you did when you moved someplace. You got your telephone and you got your cable TV. It's like those were just the two things that you established. It kind of said, I'm here. And those were the things that could be counted on. That was like stability. It's like I've got my phone with my local area code and I've got my cable TV set up. I'm resident in this area now. And it speaks to the kind of nomadic age that we're in, where I didn't give up my cell phone number from Los Angeles when we moved to Phoenix. Bob and I still have a 310 area code phone number, and no one thinks twice about it. People ask, where are you in the country now? And the same thing with letting go of cable, like taking the cable box and the cables and that cursed remote back to the cable company was like this rite of passage for us. It's like we're no longer constricted by a cable. We have a streaming service. No matter where we are, we can stream it on our phones. We don't have to be in one particular place. And so it was both kind of terrifying because we were letting go of something that represented stability and something foundational to us. And it was at the same time free. It's like, we don't have to worry about this anymore. We've got it wherever we're at, and this feels amazing. And that's what cutting the cord is all about.
So what cutting the cord is all about to me is cutting the umbilical cord of my children when they came out of the womb. And I believe I got to do it for 3 of the 4. The first one was born 6 weeks early. So I don't think they were like taking their time being like, hey, like making a ceremony out of it. But I believe 3 of the 4 I got to cut the cord on. No, what it actually makes me think of is the ability to take yourself away from a place of certainty, right? So many people have said what one of the human needs is, you can call it different things, is certainty, like the ability to have like a patterned way of being and say, I'm stable, I'm secure, I know exactly what life is going to be like. And there's a lot of that that's tied into something like there's a way for people to reach me. Like I have this home landline phone number. This is even connected a lot to work, right? So we have an office that we go to, let's say pre-COVID, and then we literally, a lot of companies are doing this. We cut the cord and we're like, no, during this difficult time, work from home, right? And many people have struggled with that. And ultimately, what it makes me think about is that no matter where you go, it sounds like an obvious statement, you take yourself with you. No matter where you go, you take yourself with you. And so a lot of times in coaching people, and they talk about, let's say, relationships or even like work struggles, like they get fired or, they're having struggles with their boss. I'm thinking, no matter where you are, you're there. No matter where you are, you're there. It's like you're that same person, but we almost feel more secure when we're, have that cord attached, like when we have the place that we're familiar with, that we've always gone to. But what we forget is that certainty should not lie in a location or this connected thing. Certainty should lie with you as an individual. One of my favorite made up sayings is probably a combination of sayings is I'll find a way, I'll make a way, I'll figure it out. It's that like, put me anywhere and then I'm going to make this work, whatever that is. I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to, create a way, find a way, make a way. But I don't need a place, a physical location. I don't need a physical thing that like ties me down or gives me that certainty. I create that certainty wherever I go.
Great way to put it. And I agree with you. There is meaning that we attach to that stuff. And that's because as humans, and we've talked about this before in our coaching work, we talk about the fact that we're meaning-making machines. We love to attach meaning to things because it gives us that sense of stability. It gives us hope for the future. It makes us think that everything's going to be okay. And I think there's something about like this history that we have with particular things, like having a history with the phone, as goofy as that sounded, having a history with that was like, I could count on it. I know I could count on this no matter how weird and wacky the world gets. I go home and I can count on my phone. And to take it back even further, for those of you who are of a certain age, before we had portable phones, like they were landlines, but they were portable. When I grew up, we had a phone in the kitchen, was mounted on the wall, and we had a phone in my parents' bedroom. They had one in there, and it was plugged in to the wall and sat on their nightstand. And that was it. There was never, on the plus side, we never asked the question, where's the phone? Where did I leave my phone? Because it was either on the wall in the kitchen or it was in mom and dad's bedroom. And that was it. And it was just one of those little touchstones, one of those little signs that there's something stable in life. I know where the phone's at. I never, ever, ever have to think about that. And you could count on it. And so even in the present day, when we got rid of the landline, when we said goodbye to that, I felt like I was saying goodbye to all of it. I felt like I was saying goodbye all the way back to my earliest memories of the phone ringing at home with that very familiar bell sound, not some sort of musical thing that plays now. But I was literally letting go of that little piece of my history. And that was a big deal. For whatever reason, it was just a big deal for me. And letting go of the cable, not quite as attached to that as I was to the other, but it was still something representative of that kind of security. To your point, wherever you go, there you are. I mean, that's it. That's the truth. And so it doesn't really matter what we have. And I think the fewer attachments, the older I get, the fewer attachments I have, the better life actually becomes. There's something powerful in becoming less attached to stuff. In fact, we've just engaged and we're in the middle of this massive reduction of stuff at home, going through every closet and recycling, repurposing, giving away, whatever it happens to be. There is something sad in it because you, again, pull out things that you may never have seen for 5 years, 10 years or more, 20 years in the case of some of the stuff that we've packed around with us. And yet there's something so freeing in letting it go and realizing that you're not attached to some dusty old thing in the closet that you had forgotten about, but Dan, that I think has a hold on us still. I think the less attachments that we can have, the better we're going to be, not just because we're more mobile in the physical sense, but I think we're more mobile mentally as well.
And it just changes over time. I'm sure many of you have seen that, call it a meme, where they are saddened by the fact that you see a bunch of people on a train and everyone's just staring down at their phones. And then they show from 100 years earlier and everyone's just staring at the newspapers. No one's talking to each other, right? And they're saying how less social we are. And it's true that back when we had landlines and they were only maybe in two places, like you said, a kitchen and maybe the parents' bedroom, that you didn't never have to ask the question, where's the phone? But you did have to ask the question, what is the phone number? You probably also had to ask the question, is someone on the line, when you picked up the receiver and realized someone else is already on the phone? So you had to wait your turn for the phone. So it's that double-edged sword, right? That as you cut the cord, you say you free yourself up, and there's just different things to think about or different things that you could be worrying about. But I think there's a lot of significance in like somebody taking that first step, right? To let's say leave the home and then establish yourself on your own, right? And back in the day, that means getting a landline or getting cable TV. But even just the ability, like when cell phones came out, that people had their own phone, they didn't no longer had to wait. But what came along with that is now we don't know anybody's phone number. So if your phone was dead and you had to borrow a phone, or back when there were telephone booths to go call somebody, you would not remember their number. Now I remember, and I'm sure you do, Ken, a bunch of numbers, but those are probably all outdated because they all were probably to landlines, which have been gone, right? And now we have to remember cell phones. But why remember a cell phone number if we just type it in and it's in our contacts and we just hit a name and it calls somebody? We don't have to think about a phone number that's attached to it. And just like you said, you can bring your phone number with you as you move around to different locations and different places. So it's never a thing that kind of goes with it. Speaking though of this, like cutting the cord, what's really interesting to me is I just came back from a vacation and I saw a family that they go on a beach trip, all of them together each year. And these people go all the way back to like grade school. We've known them. And the one man was the best man at my brother's wedding. Anyway, long story short is he said, "Oh, I heard you bought your parents' house." And I said, "I did." He said, "I bought my parents' house." So he's living in his childhood home. I'm living in my childhood home. And I was just thinking about how that's kind of a full circle event where we leave the nest, cut the cord, and then we're like, hey, I'm going to come right back around to that certainty of where I grew up. I think it's kind of cool to reinvent yourself, right? Like when you come back around to kind of think, how will I make it my own? How will I do it differently? So a lot of metaphors, a lot of thoughts that go into cutting the cord.
Dan, those are fine thoughts. And I want to end with where you began with the umbilical cord, because I think it's a perfect metaphor for this. It's that newborn becoming untethered, right? For the first time, like on their own. And I think that's what I'd like to leave people with, just to think about that. What does it mean to become untethered in your own life? What does it mean to be unencumbered? And what does it mean to actually let go and to trust and to know that you're sufficient and really you're all you need? Those are seemingly cliche questions, but they're cliche for a reason. And that's because there's some truth embedded in them. I invite people as you come into this new week just to reflect on those and maybe do a little journaling and see what you come up with.
And I want to comment on something Ken said earlier, which is about decluttering or going through stuff and getting rid of it. There's a woman named Marie Kondo, and she had a Netflix series, and she had a book about, I don't know, organization, decluttering. I don't remember the name. Anyway, long story short, is she would ask you the question, like, does it bring you joy? And a lot of stuff you would go, no, I haven't touched this thing or seen this thing, like Ken said, in many, many years. And there might be that sentimentality about it, like, oh, this is thing. And sure, there's a certain number of things that bring you joy when you revisit them X number of years later. So you should keep them as long as they're not taking up space. But there's a lot of things that we need to cut the cord on and just eliminate and get rid of, because in fact, they're taking up mental space. They're not bringing us joy. And even the fact that know they exist is something that we should probably say, is that taking up mental space that we don't need? One of the areas, and I'm an advocate against this, which is storage spaces, right? And I get it. Some people do not have enough room in their home. It is what it is. But I'd ask you the question, do you have a storage unit that's not storing something large like a car? And if it's not, if it's storing a bunch of boxes, I'd ask you, are you just like delaying the inevitable, which someday, whether it be when you die and your inheritant people will go through it and go, why did he keep all of his stuff? But maybe you cut the cord on your storage unit. Sorry to all you people who own storage places. And you just say, let's get rid of that stuff. Let's just let it go. And you can free up even the thought that what I own, what brings me joy, is where I am. Like I say, you are where you go. Well, bring those important items that bring you joy with you as you go to different places. But don't have to think that it's you're corded off to somewhere else, a storage unit or a different location. And you have to think about all the things you have, because you can think about loss with them, and just focus on the things that are important to you and the things that bring you joy.